Arctic Monkeys is known as one of the biggest alternative rock bands of the 21st century. Their 2013 album, AM, is one of the most streamed albums of all time. But their journey is not always what it has seemed to be. Today I'll be doing a deep dive on the Arctic Monkeys and highlighting their more than 20-year career in music. My name is Paul Collins and this is The Artist Project. Arctic Monkeys was formed in 2002 by a group of three friends: Alex Turner, Matt Helders, and Andy Nicholson. Turner and Helders had grown up in the same neighborhood, and they'd met Nicholson later in school. Alex Turner played the guitar in the band, with Helders on the drums, Nicholson on bass, followed by a new member of the band, Jamie Cook, as the second guitarist. It turns out that Matt Helders' dad had played in a band called the Arctic Monkeys, and they kind of passed the name down generation to generation. The Arctic Monkeys began to grow in popularity in North England where they lived, and filmed an early music video for their song Fake Tales of San Francisco. As their popularity grew, their fans actually made a MySpace account for them, which wasn't even run by the band. They released a few early EPs, followed by their first studio album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, released on January 23rd, 2006, where it peaked at number 1 in the UK, Australia, and number 24 in the United States. The album has since gone 7 times platinum in the UK and platinum in the United States and Australia as well. Their second album, Favorite Worst Nightmare, was released on April 23rd, 2007 with the big hit 505. However, before the release of 2007's Favorite Worst Nightmare, Nicholson reportedly left the band due to fatigue and interest to start his own project. Their next two albums, Humbug and Suck It and See, also peaked at number 1 in the UK, but were not quite as successful as those first two albums. Now this is all great lead up for Arctic Monkeys' fifth and biggest studio album, titled AM. In February of 2012, Arctic Monkeys released Are You Mine on their YouTube channel. On July 27th of that same year, the Arctic Monkeys played in the London Summer Olympics opening ceremony. They played I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor from their first album, and a cover of the Beatles' Come Together. Clearly, at this point, they were already icons of British culture and British music, but the biggest was yet to come. The band released their fifth studio album, AM, on September 9th, 2013. One review of the album says that AM mixes Velvet Underground melodies, Black Sabbath riffs, and playful grooves and has fun doing it. This album had the biggest hits, it was the most made for radio, but it also had some of the catchiest tunes they had ever made. Some true old Arctic Monkeys fans said they kind of sold out to the pop hits, but if you go listen to the album, it's still clear that they're keeping their sound with them. The album was wildly popular, going 6 times platinum in the UK, 3 times platinum in the US, and is currently in the top 25 most streamed albums on Spotify. In August of 2014, following the AM tour, Arctic Monkeys announced they were going on hiatus until they recorded and released their 6th studio album, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, on May 11th, 2018. This album was quite a different feel for the Arctic Monkeys. Though they were known for always doing different things, this one was quite out of the ordinary. It was surprising and outlandish and had quite a bit more piano and other sounds that they weren't quite familiar with using. Their most recent album, The Car, was released on October 21st, 2022, and is the only album they have released that did not reach number 1 in the UK. Since the release of this album, the future for the Arctic Monkeys has been a bit murky. At one point, the band had announced that they were officially done. Then they announced another upcoming album potentially, but that date has passed and nothing's come out. Now that I've shared a brief history on the band, let's get into my experience listening to their music. As I do for every episode of The Artist Project, I listened to Arctic Monkeys' entire studio album discography, and this time I included EPs and singles that went along with it as well. I grew up listening to AM, and so I knew those songs, but I was so impressed by how their music evolved and was different for every single album throughout their career. For example, the synths on 505 are so far-fetched from where they were from that first album, even though it was just their sophomore album. AM obviously is what people are known for, but there's a lot more depth to this band, and that's the point I'm trying to make. I'll share my recommendations for what you could get into if you've never really listened to Arctic Monkeys before. If you want just to listen to some of their biggest songs, you can always start off with Are You Mine, 505, and Do I Wanna Know. Some other songs that are some of my personal favorites would be Only Ones Who Know off Favorite Worst Nightmare, Arabella, and one of their earliest songs, Fake Tales of San Francisco. Now, the Arctic Monkeys had different ebbs and flows throughout their career. They had different phases that were really just defined by each album. They took a few hiatuses, and Alex Turner spent a lot of time on his solo career as well. Through the ups and downs, though, they had some amazing highlights, and I really hope that this band can continue to create music, and that one day I hopefully can see them in concert. Join me next time when I'll be discussing Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and their influence on the world. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and as always, my name is Paul Collins, and this is The Art of Podcast.